Coming back on the air.
Johnny?
You're still afraid.
I'm not afraid.
There wasn't a sign of life and death.
We've got to do something.
Why don't you just keep calm?
You're telling us we gotta risk our lives just because somebody might need help.
Yeah, something like that. They dragged you out there and beat those things.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
Haven't you had enough?
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Wow. Hey, everybody. It's Gary Striner reporting from the cemetery, as a matter of fact. And it just came up that we're in an amazing thunderstorm, thunder and lightning. So I'm in the mobile van and I should say the mobile truck. It's not a van. We're working on a van. But anyway, we have a really great show tonight, which is something that's fairly different. And I hope we, in an effort to expand our universe and get our word out to more people, like 2 weeks ago, we had Pure Horror on. Tonight, we're going to have 6 other horror hosts who all have their own working shows, and they'll have a minute to tell you about what those shows are. And then we'll break into some kind of, I don't know, dance or something. So without further ado, Mr. Senna, would you like to introduce the guests?
Yeah, actually, what I want to do is if I could cue it up by saying that our guests tonight are all from the streaming channel, the Monster Channel, which I have a passing association with. The Monster Channel, of course, is the biggest independent horror streaming channel on television. And I'd like to introduce it before bringing on the guests with a little promo that we use to kind of give people an idea of what to expect on the channel. And then I will immediately bring up our hosts in order. So here's a little taste of the Monster Channel. That was our Monster Channel, and I'll bring up our first guest, Evan Davis, also known as Halloween Jack. Halloween Jack not only is one of the biggest horror hosts in the community, he is also the man who runs the Monster Channel. He does everything from soup to nuts, and manages most of the horror hosts. So, welcome, Jack.
No, thank you. I got to tell you, it's a great honor to be on here, and it's a great honor to be on here with you, Gary, because I can't tell you what Night of the Living Dead meant to me. When I saw it when I was 9 years old, it set the course of my life, and it's my all-time favorite film. All-time favorite film.
That's, well, I have to comment on that, even though this wasn't supposed to happen. But that, it's something that I'm familiar with hearing. I'll never forget the first time I kind of heard it that way. I was being interviewed for actually One for the Fire, the documentary that was with the Weinstein, whatever it was at the time, high definition. I don't even know what it wasn't 4K. I don't know what it was. Blu-ray, I guess, obviously. So anyway, so I came to the interview, and somebody was in a hotel, and somebody was waiting there, and the guy immediately recognized me and said, you're Gary Striner, right? And I said yes, and he goes, I have to tell you that you changed my life, and this was like one of the first times I'd ever heard it, and I'm going, what kind of life do you have? I mean, it's like,
oh wow.
but that just goes to show how you can be involved. I'll save all this for when all the other guests are on, but I just wanted to say that is a very common occurrence for us to anybody involved with the film to hear that, and it never gets old, it never gets tired. It's always like an injection of energy. So thank you very much for those words.
Absolutely. I mean, I like I said, I saw it when I was 9 years old. It was at North Drive-In in New Jersey, and
so who took you to the drive-in?
My older sister and her boyfriend.
Your older sister.
And it was funny because I have so many stories about this, so I don't want to take up a lot of time. But I mean, they took me and they told me that they were taking me to see the Sterile Cuckoo because they wanted to surprise me. And then when we pulled up, I saw Night of Living Dead, and at that time it was Doctor Who and the Daleks was the co-feature. And I'm like, well, that's not the Sterile Cuckoo. And they're like, no, that's what's coming next week. We're gonna, and it was weird because to me, Doctor Who and the Daleks was like a kiddie movie. And okay. I mean, I don't know who made the decision to pair that up with Night of Living Dead, but so, I'm watching that and everything's cool. And then Night of Living Dead came on. And I have to tell you, it not only scared me, it terrified me. But after that, I was drawn to it like a moth to a flame. Whenever it was in any theaters or everything, I had to go see it.
I'm more terrified by the fact that your parents were going to take you to see the Sterile Cuckoo.
No, it wasn't my parents. It was my sister and her boyfriend.
Okay, whatever.
My parents
do you think they were they really did want to scare the crap out of you? Is that?
Oh
is
yeah,
that
they
their
wanted
main
to surprise
mission?
me and scare me.
And if they said, "Oh, we're going to go see Night of the Living Dead," you would have said, "Probably no, I don't think so. I don't want to go."
No, I would have, because believe it or not, just that was in August, and before that, I had seen that Reader Digest article.
Right.
Written by Roger Ebert, and even as young as I was, I read that and I was mesmerized by the article, and I really wanted to see the film. And when they took me, it was, yes, it scared me, but it was also a great surprise because I'd wanted to see it so badly. But right. I mean, that movie not only scared me, it terrified me. I mean, my parents didn't know about it beforehand, but they knew afterwards because they were pretty much mad at my sister because I didn't sleep for a week after that. So
I laugh about it and I smile, and there's joy about it, but there's also I can't possibly feel all the torment that actually went in and was involved in that too, and maybe not specifically with you, but hello.
Yep. But it was a good torment to me anyway.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that as long as everyone's doing it consensually. So I'm
sorry, go ahead.
No, please. I
was going to say a week after that, I was going to a cinema with my friend in downtown where I lived, and it was a totally different movie we were going to see. And as we were going down to the one cinema, I looked down the street, and down in that cinema, it said Night of Living Dead. And I said, oh, no, we're going to see that. So not only did I not sleep for another week, but my friend didn't sleep for another week after that, too. So But that's just how powerful it was to me. I had wherever it was, I had to go see it. Whenever it's on TV, I have to go see it. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen it, but I'm
So
sure you've heard
while we have you here individually, we'll do this with all the guests. What would you say your most frightening moment was?
Oh, it had to be the scene in the basement with the daughter with the spade.
Yeah.
Just that. Oh my gosh, that scene.
Yeah,
I have to tell you, I mean, even after all these years, I mean, 55 years later, I still get goosebumps when that scene comes on. That was the most frightening thing to me. That one right there.
There you go. All right,
So-
next guest.
All right, so we're going to bring on the lovely and talented Sally, the zombie cheerleader. Nicole King, here she comes.
Hello.
Hi, Nicole. Welcome.
We need to give Nicole a full screen here too. Everybody should have their moment, right?
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I thought I did. Did I not
She
do that
took
with
so
Jack?
long to prepare. We want to make sure she's seen.
Yeah, well, long day at work, and I'm just kind of relaxing in my office right now.
It's okay. Thank you for taking the time. But it also needs to be said that this is, of course, the busy season for all of us in the horror business. So anybody who had the opportunity tonight to come is very welcome.
Oh, most definitely. I was actually doing my final edits on my Halloween special, which is coming Halloween, Jack. Long story short, something went bad on it, and I spent all night fixing it. But it's ready. I'm telling you, my cat's going to visit me. He knows I'm on screen now. There's a tail. Hello, Poe. Here, let me.
Oh, there they are. There they go.
Oh, wow.
I was waiting for the cat to make an appearance.
This is Poe.
Well, just to let you know, Sally, you're going to be on Halloween night at 10 o'clock. So there you go.
Excellent. It's rendering now, so I can see what else I missed. So, Night of the Living Dead. Again, I was 9 years old when I first saw
Another 9-year-old.
Yep.
Exactly. And you had horror hosts back in the day. So most horror hosts ran on what was called creature features from East to West Coast. So back in the day when it was the first airing of Night of the Living Dead was Count Gordeval on WDCA Channel 20, which was also on the West Coast, Bob Wilkins, airing it for the first time anywhere ever seen. So it's everywhere that all of these creature features are running Night of the Living Dead uncut. So I watched it over my grandmother's house. She went to bed early, so I watched Creature Feature with Count Gordeval. I was very excited. 9 years old, I was used to cartoons and books and, Peter Rabbit and stuff like that. But I loved Universal Monsters. Was very fascinated with the whole creature. But Night of the Living Dead was different in a sense that it was not a Dracula or a vampire or a werewolf or a mummy. These are creatures. Night of the Living Dead was about humans. And it wasn't just about humans. There was a social commentary there that as a 9-year-old, I saw the struggles of humans interacting and arguing and fighting in the midst of inhumanity. So you had humans acting like humans in the face of inhumanity. So that struck me. It also, the simplicity of it, it was black and white. There's no color. So you had to use your mind that you saw blood, that those guts were real. So that kind of played on your psyche as well. My favorite bits, of course, were going up the stairs because that was creepy. My father had a very creepy house where going up the stairs, I was expecting to see the skull and the bits of body up there. The other part would have been the graveyard where Heinzman was kind of creeping around. So I think in a sense that taught me to be very aware of my surroundings. So you never know what's coming out of the blue to come get you. So that was kind of a learning experience for me. But I think it utterly terrified me to the point where it was so real that these were real people. These weren't monsters. And the creatures, the ghouls that were coming to get you were very human. They weren't wrapped in cloth and linen. They didn't have hair. They didn't have bolts in their neck. They were humans. And it ended in a very human way as well. So that really struck home. And I think it terrified me. And fun fact, I was so scared at the end of the show, and I went to bed and I slept in my grandmother's, what would have been her sewing room. She had a full-size mannequin. It was just like a dress dummy. And it was... Yeah. So you see where this is going. So it was kind of in the closet and not in the closet. And I tried to shut the closet door because I didn't like open doors. And to this day, I cannot sleep with an open closet door because of that. And I thought this dummy was one of the ghouls coming to get me. And it scared me so much, I peed the bed. I couldn't get up to go down the hall because I thought going in the hall were the ghouls coming to get me. And that's the impact it made on me as a 9-year-old. It was.
And I was going to say, as a fellow 9-year-old, the ending too was kind of hard to deal with because you were, usually we were used to seeing horror movies where the hero prevails and everything. And the fact that is that a spoiler? I don't want to spoil it.
Oh, yeah. He died. He went through all of that, and it was it's another life lesson. It's social comedy.
Yeah, I mean that was the hard part of it. I struggled at the end of that movie a lot. Yeah.
That's scary too.
It's everybody seems to have very similar sense memories about this film, and it's probably one of the reasons why most of the hosts use the film to be one of their first episodes on their shows. I'm going to bring up Eric William now. Eric William is another veteran of independent horror host world. And Jack, I'm going to let you do most of the introduction since you know everybody and their history. So why don't you tell us something about Eric and welcome him to the show?
Well, okay.
Eric, come on, you're a host. You're a host. Do some hosting.
Eric's a great guy. I mean, he does a great show, Saturday Fright Theater. We've had it on the Monster Channel several times. I mean, he works with Lamia quite a bit and does a lot in the independent circuit. And correct me if I'm wrong, Eric. You can help me out here.
Yeah. I was going to let you tap dance to see how long I could let you go. Right? I mean, Joe just was like, "Here you go."
And here you go. Here's Eric Williams. Williams. No S.
Did I put an S at the end of that?
What's that? No, there's.
I did. No, did I put an S at the end of it? I didn't mean to.
No, you.
All right, good.
You're good.
Oh, I did that. I'm sorry. I retract that.
Everyone does. But thank you guys so much. This is a true honor. Eric William, like I said, Saturday Fright Theater. I unfortunately have to break the trend. I saw it when I was 10. I was not a year-old.
How dare you?
I was a year late to the party. But Night of the Living Dead, I cannot tell you again. It's just going to be a lot of what, Halloween Jack and what Sally has already said there. A lot of the same aspects. The movie means so much to me. Just it literally led me into horror in wanting to be horror host. And, I wanted to share this movie with my friends. I literally probably at 11 years old, we had the old projector and we set it up and we would watch it. And I would host it with my friends and tell them what was coming up. And literally none of them knew what was going to hit them, especially the ending. We talked a little bit about the ending. The ending is what really hit home with me. Even today as a filmmaker, I don't like a normal, safe, final girl ending, so to speak, with horror movies. It has to have something that calls back to that Night of the Living Dead ending. And again, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, go out there and, make sure you find a good copy. But
there's only one. There's only one good copy.
There's only one. That's right.
But it's just means so much to me. And to be here with everybody tonight is a true honor. I mean, I'm relatively new to the Monster Channel. And my show has grown leaps and bounds thanks to that. And again, to be a part of this and to be a part of the community that Evan, that you've built and Joe, you've helped is just truly an honor. So thank you so much. I could keep talking but we've got more hosts I know waiting in the back. So
that's all right.
We'll keep this moving along. We'll kind of chug it along and
our next guest is Tony Covington, also known as Hack from Hack's Horror Show.
Yeah.
And again, Jack, do an introduction.
Be gentle.
On
I
the
knew I was going to be co-hosting. I would ask for more money doing this.
Oh, it's funny, the idea of getting paid.
Hey,
Oh, my camera keeps, excuse me.
camera's
Yeah,
excited.
Hack's Horror Show. We show it every night at midnight because that's the only time it could be shown, because it is for an adult audience, but it is such a great show. I mean, he mixes so many things together in there. It's what a horror host should be. It's music, it's horror movies and everything. And plus, not to mention, he's very prolific on the convention circuits and everything, and he's been a absolute great promoter of the Monster Channel. So everybody, Hack. And
Hi,
here.
everybody.
Hi, Jack.
What's up, Sally? It's good to see. I guess Jack. Thank you for that introduction. I'm kind of nervous with Gary and everybody else. There's a lot of heavy hitters on the screen I'm looking at right now, and I'm like, oh, what am I doing here? Absolutely honor, pleasure to be here. Not Night of the Living Dead. It's the scary movie of all the scary movies. It truly is. I don't remember what age I was when I was a kid. I just know I was very, very young. And it was like one of the first scary movies I ever got to see, because it was like coming on the local Fox affiliate. And it was like, tonight, Night of the Living Dead, it's saying that in the morning. And I'm just standing there and I'm like, looked at my grandmother and I'm like, can I watch that? And she's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And I'm like, oh, sweet. So I got to stay up late and I watched it. And
it's on the TV. How bad can it be?
Yeah. Well, I'm on television. It can be very, very bad. But I'm watching, and I'm fascinated, because it's the first time I'm seeing like not cartoon monsters. I'm seeing like these monsters like come on screen, and I was very lucky in a sense that the very first film I ever got to host live, there was this huge convention in Sevierville, Tennessee, and it was like a comic collector convention thing. And they wanted to show the movie like that night for the event, and they called me and they're like, well, you do the horror host thing, come to. I was like, I've never hosted anything live. Like, I kind of just sat in front of a green screen like this and say the F word a lot and show a movie that, somebody, and do my thing or whatever. But I went out there and it was full. There was probably about like 500 people there. And getting to host that live with everybody was just, it was remarkable. Like, experiencing the film with that many people at the same time was like, wow, that's my fondest memory of Night of the Living Dead was that. That was just such a good time.
Everybody's talking age, but just remember something. My 9 years old is different than her 9 years old, and different than his 9 years old, and different than his 10 years old.
Yeah,
I mean, I saw it at the drive-in when it first came out. I mean, that was amazing. I mean, I saw it.
Must have been something at the drive-in first run.
I saw it 4 years later at the same drive-in when they decided to, get rid of Doctor Who and put in Willard. So that was kind of a better companion piece than Doctor Who. But yeah.
So
my first horror film was oh, good grief! Now it just left my head.
I don't think I've seen Good Grief.
Yeah.
Twice. And
Burnt Offerings. I'm sorry, I was 6 when I think it was 76 when it came out. I was 6 when Burnt Offerings, and I saw that in a movie theater with my mother because she didn't want to pay a babysitter.
Oh, good film. Good film. No, I saw that in the theater too. Good film.
Oh yeah.
He had a good reason.
So, last but not least, we're going to bring on John Murray, also known as Doc Dredd.
Hey.
Hi, Doc.
Hey,
a rare, unfezzed appearance.
Yes, yes.
I feel naked.
Well, you see how his camera's framed. He's obviously left enough room for the fez because he's used to it.
Don't recognize you.
So, John, tell us about your show, yourself, what got you on, and what does Night of the Living Dead mean to you?
Okay, now first off, I didn't have Jack singing my praise to begin with, and that really hurts.
All right, so let's start again.
Okay.
Hold on. There we go. Jack, would you like to introduce our next guest?
Oh, I absolutely want to introduce the next guest. He has been a staple of the Monster Channel on Friday nights, where he does these wonderful reviews. And him and his sidekick Bucky, I mean, they're hilarious, and they make you laugh, and they give you great insight into the film. So let me introduce to you John Murray, also known as Doc Dread. There you go.
Oh. Thank you for that. Thank you, Jack, for that wonderful introduction.
Completely unprompted.
Like everybody previously, it's like a huge honor to be here tonight, but more so to be featured as a staple paperclip on the Monster Channel. But Night of the Living Dead, I am late to the show, really. I've only been doing the horror host thing for a couple of years. And like that, Night of the Living Dead, for me, I was probably in my late teens. It was on television. We didn't go to the movies. We lived in a rural area, so it wasn't even in any of our local theaters. But I remember watching it with my brother. It was nighttime, and we weren't watching it in the living room on the larger TV because it was probably being used by my dad. And we were in a back bedroom with a little 12-inch black and white broken knob, coat hanger antennas, and it's the only movie that has ever given me nightmares. It scared me as an older teen. I'm not sure if I was 17, 16. It was right in that age frame. But I mean, I grew up with, as others have said, Frankenstein and the Wolfman, Lugosi, Karloff. And those guys were my idols, and I loved them. But this was something different. It brought it home. Your family is the monster crashing through the window, and that part was terrifying. When the scariest part for me was when Judith was dragged out into the mob, and her brother was there. That was just, she left him dead, and there he was, and that freaked me out.
That was a good one. Yeah.
So each of the hosts here have shown Night of the Living Dead at least once on their respective shows, whether they've shown it on the Monster Channel or not, because of its ubiquity. And now is probably a good time for Gary to fill in everybody on where Night of the Living Dead is as an entity, what kind of opportunities there are to get it seen again. We've once the new Janus Criterion version was released, the Monster Channel made its own policy not to show any of the other previous iterations again, not asking the hosts to change anything in their own venues, of course, but the Monster Channel's official policy is that only the official one true print of Night of the Living Dead will exist. So what does that new world look like to you, Gary?
That's a big question. It's just funny. I keep recalling, I don't even know where it came from, some friend, talking about tackling big, big issues and big things that you have to deal with in life. And it's something like, how does a mouse eat an elephant? And it's, it's a big elephant, so you got to do it one bite at a time. And I've never been so forced to understand that principle, because the film has done such a good job, of ingraining itself into so many people. I call it the Kleenex of horror. Everybody knows it. There's no question about who made it. That's the weird thing about it. There's not any other groups claiming that they made it. It was one basic simple mistake that just caused years and years and years of kind of aggravation more than anything, I would say. Now you could talk to my brother, and I guarantee you his and John Russo's experience far different than mine, because I went off and had another career. Those guys hung in and mentored this project for all the many years. I came back in the 40th anniversary when I retired from my career in advertising, and somebody the way this all came about. I'll try to make it as short as possible because I can go on forever. A guy by the name of Rick Reifenstein, who happened to be an editor at WRS Motion Picture Labs, where we did all the final work on Night, actually happened to move to Evans City along the way, met a woman, and he moved to Evans City, and he became a member of the Evans City Historical Society. And he got in touch with me and said, "Hey, this is the 40th anniversary. We got to do something special." And we literally spent months. I mean, it was so weird because I didn't really know anything about anything. I hadn't even kept up really closely with the film myself. It was something that was just in the past. And we had all these grandiose ideas of doing reenactments in the cemetery and blah 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 blah. And we got around to be about August, and it was all and it came to our minds, how are we going to pay for all this? And obviously we couldn't pay for it. So we had one simple screening on Halloween night in Edco Park in Evans City, and that's what started it all over again for me. And it was one particular situation where a mid-50s doctor came up and introduced myself, and he had his 13-year-old son with him. And he said, "Oh, I want to thank you so much for this screening. I've been waiting for this opportunity for it to be right to share this film with my son, and this is perfect." And we were out it was freezing cold October, Halloween, just miserable, and everybody hunkered down. I think about 250 people showed up, which was pretty amazing because I didn't even have Facebook at that point in time. Really, it was just sort of emails and various things like that to spread the word. So that was really the second beginning of Night of the Living Dead for me. And when I saw how those people, cold as it was, all wrapped in blankets, and they just they were just enamored with this film, and I said, that's it. We got to we need to get these people more. And from the very beginning, that was always sort of my mantra. It's like, well, if there aren't licensed products for these people to buy, well, why would you not think they're going to buy the bootleg stuff? And so we just kept biting at it, one bite at a time. And through that process, and spending lots of monies with law firms, because we wanted to do it right. We just didn't want to, we want Night to fit into the community, not have, it be this glaring thing of people being afraid. Well, do I say this or do I do that? No, we want it to be, it's, it's like top of the heap in American pop culture. How can you start putting, restrictions on that? So, but also, how do you maintain ownership of it? Even though never in the history of the film, 56 years, has anybody ever actually challenged the ownership of it. But certainly many, many hundreds of people have abused, um, you know, uh, using it for their own profit. Um, and so that's hard to come to grips with. It's not a problem you can fix overnight. It's not a problem that you can just do one thing or another. So Jim Cirinella and I've just figured what we were going to do is, bring everything down to the basic principles of law, and work it back out from there. We hooked up with a great law firm we love dearly, and bit by bit we've been able to build a very stable foundation back under this film. And so then what do you do? Now we have it. Now we have T-shirt. We have a licensing agent. We have a major international licensing agent, and that's only because we've proven to these people that we do own the film, we do have rights to it, and we always have. They've just never been explored, and they've never been worked. So other, it's a hard thing. Some people say the bootlegging is what kept Night of the Living Dead alive for all those years. And show, being randomly able to show prints at any time, at any screening, at any event. I have mixed feelings about that, but I'm sorry that that's the way it happened to be, but it is the way it happened to be. And so now we live with that, and we spend most of our time trying to educate people on that legality. We have a copyright on a film right now. You can't watch this on any streaming service unless it's the Criterion version, and it's copywritten, and we get paid for that. And we're not asking to be greedy. None of us. There is not one single person that is involved with Night of the Living Dead that's a rich person.
Yeah.
And so
that's for sure.
All we're really trying to do is, sort of get some cash to keep it alive, and we kind of went through the attorney phase of all this, and we don't have to do that anymore, because but what I say, we don't have to do that anymore, but we're doing it all over again, because the nuance of what all intellectual property rights involves, it'll drive you crazy. And I said this earlier when we were talking before the show started. There is no answer to any one of these questions, and each question that kind of gets brought up, if you will, would have to be litigated, and
Right.
and that would mean it would have to come in front of a court, and a judge would have to, say yes or no. Well, we have no real worry about that, but the other thing is who wants to spend their life in court? That's no fun. And who wants to spend all of the profits that we've been able to put together? We want to get them back out to the shareholders and the people who actually made the film. So nobody is getting rich off of this, I can tell you, but you know what? It's really nice to write out checks to the shareholders at times when they can use it, and it's actually a help to them. So it's a real good it's a feel good story all the way around, and based on a film of this importance. I don't know what much else I can say. I mean, there's details. I don't want to bore everyone with, all the details. But all right. So anyway, so now we got it solid. We have good licenses where there's going to be a lot of new stuff coming out that's going to, let me go back one step further. The big turning point of this film's life was when the Museum of Modern Art says, yes, we want to bring everything you have to our facility, and we'll consider what at that point in time a preservation a contract. And so in the beginning, they were just going to take all the raw material you have, which was the negative and the sound material and all that various component stuff, and they were going to store it in proper storage for the rest of the film's life. That was a really, really, really pivotal point in what I would call the new Night of the Living Dead, because now we have the Museum of Modern Art, in essence, deeming this film art. They don't just pick up any film off the street. You have to pass a lot of tests for the Museum of Modern Art to take you in. And so whenever they saw the negative and they saw all the materials that we have, the next question came up as well, how do you feel about preservation? And it's like, or how do you feel about restoration? So that's the two things basically that the Museum of Modern Art does. They will preserve. They have the entire Warhol collection, film collection in their archives. I mean, it's amazing what's in the Museum of Modern Art's collection. So then
it's got an air of legitimacy about it now that's beyond just a horror film that's been seen a million times. It's got a level of respect that that's usually reserved for like the Universal monsters or films like that.
Yeah, it's the first horror film that the Film Foundation, who they work in conjunction with the Museum of Modern Art, and they were kind of the financial leg of the mission, and they came up with the cash to actually do the restoration. But in any event, so all of a sudden it's like, oh, you want to restore our movie? What does that mean? What do you want for doing that? And well, they're a non-for-profit organization. They can't really take cash in that regard. I mean, they can take donations to work on a project or whatever. And they just said, well, you own the film. You can do anything you want with it. We have no restriction. Only thing is very specific laws that they have about once they take your film in. They don't want to become like a revolving door, and you're in and out of their vaults every couple of months trying to do this or do that with it. It's pretty much you have to have something pretty special to be able to go back in and use those elements, which that we were nervous about that. It was like, well, what does that really mean? I mean, they're going to have our film. It's all worked out. There's never been an issue or anything that they've prevented us from needing to do or having to do. But then, so in explanation, Katie Trainer, who was our point person at MoMA, just said, no, this is your film. You do whatever you want with it. And I said, so you're telling me if I want to take this film to Criterion, I can have them release it? And she said, absolutely. She said, as a matter of fact, our executive, director of film here, Raj Roy, is very good friends with Peter Becker. Would you like us to do an introduction? So now all of a sudden we're being introduced to the creme de la creme in our minds of a distributor by MoMA, who's restoring the film. It was almost unbelievable, that this could just happen to this film, and it was just waiting to happen to this film. And so that's it. The rest is history. We have the best, unequivocally, the best distribution setup with Criterion that Night of the Living Dead could ever hope for. And
So
and
I was going to
go
say,
ahead.
so what does this mean? So for people like the hosts who have their own channels and platforms, and the Monster Channel and places like that, who want to show Night of the Living Dead again, what are the realities behind that?
Well, I think they're all very good. The one thing that just needs to be answered, that just kind of got brought up recently, is most of you guys are streaming, and girls are streaming. And so streaming becomes a slightly different and complicated issue, with our contract with them. But it's only because we've never had to deal with it before. We've never, this has never come up before. So we have some work to do. We want you guys to be showing the movie, that's what we consider to be our expanded universe. We want you to help us promote whatever. We have a great store going on right now, which needs promotion, and I think that's kind of like, that's what this deal is. You get to talk about Night of the Living Dead, which brings your fans information, and we get new information out to new people. I mean, I think that's just the general concept of why we're talking to all you horror hosts. um, it's a win-win. And here again, I have to say, and you have to trust me, and you don't know me, but the mission here is to get the best information and the best quality out to as many people as we possibly can. That's all it is. We want to please the fans. That's why we've created a store. That's why we've gone to such lengths to remove that problem of only being able to buy bootleg uh, stuff. And it's really remarkable to see what happens when you have somebody like Fright Rags that's producing your t-shirts. That was
Yeah.
another great find, and another great thing that came together. We got the best t-shirt company in America, to sell our shirts. I can't even begin to tell you how helpful that was. And like I said, lots of legal fees, and those t-shirts paid for, a lot of those legal bills. So it's been a real effort, and it's not always been good. you know it's been bad, but what I see now and what I feel now, and the fact that we can now actually talk to hosts like you guys and be honest and serious about it, um and understand we don't have an association yet, but each and every one of you are going to have different needs and different at different times. And so, yes, we want you to show it. We want you to talk about it. We want you to, have exclusives on, new products that are coming out that are growing and growing. As I said, we just a little over a year ago, we hooked up with Stryker Entertainment. Um, Stryker
The licensing agency.
Yeah, has a long history of licensing, and they're doing us justice. So
good.
This is all. All of a sudden, all of a sudden, we have something to say, and we can't. I could sit here and talk for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I'm not going to reach the people that I can reach by talking to you and have you expand that out.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty, simplistic idea and plan. More people talking, more people hear. and let's bring this. Let's get it back up there and as high as we can. And it's and it's what do I want to say? And its rightful place in horror history.
So
I think. Go ahead.
It's good. So I think now's probably a good time for the group to do a little brainstorming and Q&A, because there's and maybe help clarify for other folks out there who are also hosts, who are established hosts, who want to do screenings, etc. I'm going to throw it open to the hosts and say, a lot of you folks have been respectful and not, just throwing Night of the Living Dead up there. You, several of you, actually have audiences large enough that you're approached by independent filmmakers and get a chance to be the first to show some of these films, which was unheard of in the days of just doing public domain stuff. So, what's the wish list for the hosts? If you had the opportunity to do something with Night of the Living Dead, what would you do?
Wow. I mean, personally, what I would love to see to do is have it done as some kind of event where we can get a live event where we can get as many hosts involved as possible in person, do a live screening of it. I mean, that would be my wish list. I mean, that's
now when you explain that just a little further, if you will, when you say a large screening, just explain what you mean by that. Just a little deeper.
Are you talking like in theatrically,
yes,
Jack, or are we talking like
have it done in a theater,
mm-hmm.
have it done theatrically, and have as many of the hosts in close proximity that could get together and talk about, like we've been talking about tonight, about their experiences with the film and what it means to them and what a masterpiece it is to all of us. And I would love to see something like that happen.
Build a whole event around it, literally.
Exactly.
Like a whole day around
it.
Literally.
A whole day. Yes, that would be great.
Periodically, people set up booths inside the theaters. There's theaters out there. A lot of the film festivals I go to are literally set up just for that. They have vendors in the lobby. You show maybe whatever independent films throughout the day or something leading up to the large event of showing Night of the Living Dead. That's always been a dream, because I think
now let me just ask one question. Would that, in order to make that beneficial to you as host, I'm assuming that even though it was happening as a screening event somewhere, it would broadcast out to a larger net. Mm-hmm. So that would mean that you would be able to show that on or use that screening on your various channels. Does that make? Yeah,
I would say,
even though we're all going to be there, you could create a show. You could basically, what it would be is you would create a show out of the event, each and every one.
You could almost make a simulcast.
I mean, I would love to see it even as a convention, like a whole day thing.
Yeah,
literally, have a convention around this, and then have the event happen. At the end of the convention, you have all the hosts there, and possibly simulcast it out. To of course, the Monster Channel or whomever else would be involved in it. But I mean, that's how. I mean, I feel very strongly about this film, and I would love to see that happen. I bringing out as many people as possible, and just have a whole day event around this.
Now, where would we want to do this? Would we want to do more than one event? Would we want to do like 3 across the country or something like that? So that, I mean, part of the hit would be for all these fans to come somewhere and actually see that.
Exactly. And touch it.
Like have a West Coast event, an East Coast event somewhere in the middle. Yeah. Where, I mean, we have a lot of hosts on the East Coast. We have a lot on the West Coast. We have a lot, middle America.
Right.
Yeah.
That'd be everybody great. Could get a little piece of it.
Absolutely. Well, instead of having all the hosts travel to one place, do different events.
I think, Nicole was about to say, I'm sorry. I just saw Nicole start 12 sentences and just want to make sure.
Why there's no Night of the Living Dead con is beyond me. Even if it's a convention or a 2-day convention, that's something to consider. We have Oaks Theater down here in Collegeville, Pennsylvania, that used to be at AMC Theater, and it's a multi-screen, huge complex, and it's privately owned now, and they rent out theaters and they rent out rooms and whatnot. So you could find venues like that all over the place. But Living Dead Con, really.
Yes, and I was
I like that.
say, like, we just did the event, and you mentioned Fright Rags. You have the licensing with them. We have Fright Rags sponsor our events, so we could, when we do that and we have the host there, we could actually have Fright Rags there that night, sponsoring the event, putting over Fright Rags, saying good things about them, to that live crowd, and letting them know, like, hey, you can buy shirts right here from these guys.
Yeah,
that would help. Just having Fright Rags be the sponsor of the event, one of the sponsors.
Wait, are you saying that you had Fright Rag sponsor some events that you did?
Yeah, the past event.
I was just the one you just did.
So wait. So Ben spent money.
Yes.
This is what I'm trying to. I'm trying to get my head wrapped around Ben spending sponsorship money and why we're not running Fright Rags commercials on the Monster Channel.
Right?
So, hold on. Let me.
Yeah.
Get on that.
Get on.
Why are you saying that? Doc, what do you think, Doc? I want to hear from you.
Me?
Yes. Yes,
Little old me.
What Jack and Sally said, Nicole, what an amazing idea that would be to have just a convention, a Night of the Living Dead convention, either one day or a weekend at a venue that could handle the vendors and a couple food trucks. It's all about food. It's all about food.
Food trucks.
Yeah, food trucks.
Well, okay, but let me go back one step. I love this. This is exactly why we had this show,
right?
Or decided to do this episode. What I'm hearing is, Night of the Living Dead Con. That could happen in many different ways in many different cities. We have a very, very, very good reputation with any convention in America, really. As a matter of fact, I'm headed out next week from tomorrow to go to Manchester, England for Weekend of the Dead.
Wow.
So they're flying me to Manchester, England for their show, and a bunch of other people too. That they only do Romero films.
Wow.
So this becomes a bigger and bigger thing, and I think there's a possibility that it could happen. We have great theaters that we could have these events in, that have already proven themselves. But anyway, we don't need to get bogged down in those details because they can get resolved.
Yeah.
If there's a will, there's a way.
So, but now my question about a Night of the Living Dead Con is you've already got the Living Dead weekend in Pittsburgh, and then granted to keep that fresh, it's you bring in the dawn, you bring in the day, you bring in other zombie related stuff, but we're talking like a focused Night of the Living Dead, like almost like a Rocky Horror Picture Show kind of convention where it's live, it's broadcast, it's on pretty much every platform. Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not talk about it and pare it back as you realize you can't afford to do it?
So many studies and scholarly. Movie.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What was that, Nicole?
So the study of the movie itself over the last few decades, you've got people who have written theses on Night of the Living Dead. You have professors that teach courses about Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
You have books, you have comic books, you have remakes, cartoons, spin-offs. There's so much that's involved that originated from Night of the Living Dead that I think there's enough to fill an entire weekend.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Doc, you raised your hand. I'm sorry.
You could definitely get enough independent filmmakers who have either done something in homage or in tribute to.
Exactly.
That would fill a theater. I mean, until you get ready for your main show, which of course would be the restored movie. And
look at Blob Fest about the movie The Blob, and it's right down the road for me. Thousands and thousands of people for the weekend. It's a big deal. So it can happen.
And that's
one film.
Right.
Well,
Blobfest is a good model. That's a good one.
Well, it's a very interesting one because the difficult thing about Night of the Living Dead is it doesn't have a current destination, point of destination. Yes, you can come to Evans City. Yes, you can see the cemetery. Yes, you can see where they shot it. But nothing where, we can't have events up in the cemetery. So it's a little clunky in that regard. But we want to start something. I'm ready to have meetings with town council and some of the more influential people in town that have some money that could actually make a storefront in Evans City become a destination. But I don't think just a storefront's enough. I think you got to build a mock-up of the house.
Agreed. Well, you've got here's. I want to bring up a question that was just brought up in the comments here from a Samantha. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Samantha Stoder. She said, "Quick question for the panel. In terms of the museum having a print of the film and helping to restore the film, is that all they've done to preserve the film, or do they have other artifacts from the film that they take care of as part of their collection?" So I have seen on some of the threads there are guys who do the propalikes. There's a fellow out there who's collecting as many like the actual model of the radio. It's not the radio from the film, but it is the same model.
Well,
so
if let's put it this way, if we were to build the living room, it would be absolutely decked out as it was in the show. We have fans that are that crazy. They have already identified
enthusiastic
in the kitchen. What's that?
They're enthusiastic. They're not crazy.
Yes.
They have not been officially diagnosed.
Whatever you want. There's a bunch of them that I know that are flat out crazy. Crazy. Yeah, you're really right. Crazy is the wrong word. Obsessed really is probably a better word.
Passionate.
Maybe. Passionate. There you go. Passionate is what. Yes, that's what every stalker says.
We've talked about a lot of things. I mean, that's what the exciting thing about all this is we've talked about so many different things. Why could this not be? You could build something that was representative and make this a pop-up that goes all over the country, go to every city in the country.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's not out of the realm of possibility. I think again, people aren't giving money away, and you guys probably know that even better than I do. Just trying to scrape by and put your shows on every weekend.
Are you kidding? We're making money hand over fist at the Monster Channel.
But people are looking for things. This is just throwing this out, kind of offhand here. You can see how, by the way, when you're in the mobile unit, that little bell tells you every time I get a text. So, so you can see even late at night. Anyway, we kind of we started something here that I think we're going to have episode 2 on.
Oh my, okay.
Well, we're really basically out of time here.
Jesus Christ, it's 9:05.
Yeah.
Are we?
Yes.
And
fire the producer.
And we've only gotten introductions done. But I think that at the core of it, we've got a consensus of more than one people that this is a good idea. And so I think that we need to continue cracking on that, and
Yeah.
how can we make this work? It's not impossible for us to hook this, to whatever, I mean, it could this be a show at Monster Palooza? Could this be a show at Chiller? Yes, all of those things are possible. It's all going to boil down to the plan, really. Night of the Living Dead opens up all those doors. There's not I don't think there's a, like I said, I don't know that there's a convention in the country that we don't have some rapport with, and so anyway, I don't know. I'm like stoked. I want to do it now tonight.
Good.
Let's keep going.
Good. So as soon as we switch off, we'll just sit there and.
Well, I think what we did. Here's what we did, and this is why I think it's good for all the people that are going to end up seeing this. They're going to see that there is an energy behind the title.
Yeah.
And they're going to see that it's not just these Image 10 people that have some fantasy about it. It's a reality. It's a reality all across this country that's just waiting to happen. So all we have to do is figure out how.
Yeah.
And just on my YouTube page, I've got just shy of 65,000 subscribers. Word of mouth on this is easy enough, and that's not counting who's following me on Facebook and whatnot and Twitter. So yeah, there's word of mouth goes a long way for a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
You're up to 65,000 already?
I'm about 100 away from 65,000. Yeah.
Jesus!
Wow! Congratulations.
About 100 away from 102. Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Well, so it's a law of averages here.
Do we have time for me to tell you a short horror host related, obscure horror host related thing to Night of the Living Dead?
So we're out of time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming.
We would have had the time, but just asking the question took too much time. So when
it was shown on ABC, it was a network premiere.
Oh yeah.
At 11:30. I think it was like 1977, something like that. And I remember watching that, and it was funny because the announcer started playing around in the middle of the the commercial breaks, and started cracking jokes and saying stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is great. I found out later that was Ernie Anderson, who was Ghilardi.
Wow.
Back in Cleveland, because he was the voice of ABC at that time, because he did The Love Boat and all that. And he was the announcer at that time. Yeah, and he was like making jokes in between. So it's kind of an obscure horror host related connection to Night of the Living Dead.
The package that was shown on ABC, it was called Haunted Hollywood. Fellow who produced it had he had John Carradine do the intros and outros, and I recall that it felt a little packaged for a while, and then all of a sudden, the ABC voice is coming out and making jokes, and that was the first time I saw it when it was on ABC on this tiny little 12-inch screen, and I think I've said it elsewhere, but the most terrifying scene for me was when Chuck Craig did the news announcements, and the stations supered a dramatization.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they didn't want a Orson Welles War of the Worlds situation happening, and that terrified me because I thought, holy crap, people are going to watch this, they're going to think it's real, and this is so realistic that I could have bought into it too if I hadn't seen that thing underneath.
Well, and it was weird because back in the 80s, Adelphia Cable, for some reason on their cable access station, played Night of the Living Dead the week of Halloween every day at 5 o'clock, and they had to do the same exact thing. They put the dramatization. I was like, wow.
See, that's what we were talking about when we talk about what can we do on the Monster Channel, and I thought, let's do nothing but Night of the Living Dead overnight, and it's hosted by like every host. We break it up like we did when we first did the 100 Years of Monster Movies 14 years ago, where you have like a Jerry Lewis telethon kind of thing, where you bring in the film is recorded, but you bring in the host live.
Yep.
You got to text Gary, by the way.
For Halloween, that's great.
So
over
something like that. But we would call it the All Night Night of the Living Dead night, or something like that. All Night of the Living Dead all the time, and we just keep running the film, and you're interjecting it. We'll get some celebrities. You get like a Sven Gulli, who apparently we have relationships with. Joe, Bob, and Darcy, who we have relationships with. If Ben really wants to put his money where his mouth is, he'll bring Joe, Bob, and Darcy to a show. But there are a whole bunch of you bring Greg Nicotero on and have him talk about it. So you make it like a full-on celebration of the film, and you could actually simulcast it into little theaters or various other places, like you used to do, like closed circuit televisions of boxing matches and stuff.
Wow.
So we could really turn this into a huge event. Question is, how do we make money on it?
Oh, you want money?
You got to sell tickets. It's got to be an event that happens in a venue, and people come to be there live. That's what's going to pay for it. And then beyond that, I don't know. There's a lot of questions to be answered to something like that, and not to bring the room down, but that's how this thing in 1 hour just exploded in the conversation amongst us.
Right.
But there have to be hundreds and hundreds of other things that can be, that can be put together that can start happening like tomorrow.
Right.
For everybody, start programming it into your show. First of all, I hope all of you do some segment on how this excitement that's brewing. That's a great start, and just the fact that we don't know where it's going, but we know there's a lot of energy behind it. Right. And you know what will make it happen is people demanding it, and people just saying, hey, wait a minute, you mentioned something about Night of the Living Dead, and you're do it. And
well, this podcast, as soon as it's done, I think within an hour, the recording stays on the Facebook page. And I think I forgot to mention, I'm also simulcasting this on the Monster Channel Facebook page, so that recording will be up there too. So I think one of the first steps would be maybe to help explain to everybody's respective audiences, just say, hey, go watch this podcast, and it'll answer a lot of questions. And then people will say, hey, I like this idea. I'm already seeing comments here, people saying, well, gee, why don't you try this, why don't you try that? So the conversation continues.
Well, another
that's
venue
what I'm saying.
How popular this is, go to Reddit or subreddit and see how much people deep dive into this film and analyze it. There's subreddits all over the place, but it's fascinating. It's a fascinating thing.
Sally, I wanted to do that. Actually, the person that got this whole ball rolling with the Museum of Modern Art to start is a good friend, and he used to run the cinema at the Carnegie Science Center, and we always wanted to do like a weekend of intellectual discussion about Night of the Living Dead, and bring in experts that have written about it. And I think that there's a big market for that as well. So we lost Hack.
We lost Hack.
We just have to figure out now how we keep this steam and rolling, and not necessarily have to do it in a nightcast situation. So
right. That's where we're going to
the seed, let's put it this way, the purpose of this episode tonight was to plant a seed or two, and I think they've been well planted, and let's see what that energy can bring us. And the fans, You know,
Good.
that's all.
Well,
Look, we're all working for the fans. We all want clicks, right? I mean, unfortunately, that's how the world runs these days. We need clicks.
And I'm sure they have all their own stories too about seeing this film when they first saw it, and to them, you know.
You can make part of your whole show about just the stories from the fans.
All the discovery stories, all my first times, all my impacts, all of the assessments of how someone discovered this film and how it changed their lives. There are tens of thousands of those stories out there.
Yes, there are. And you know what? That's just another thing. You just touched on it. You know, when we did the Living Dead weekend or the Living Dead Fest, back in the very beginning, when we continued on from that one screening that night to do it for, I don't know, another 5 years or 6 years, something like that, and had some absolutely remarkable events. You know, there's room for all of that stuff. And what I used to always say is, you know, get these fan stories. We got all these people wanting to interview, you know, the celebrities, which I can understand, but interview the fans, you know.
Right.
They want to share their story. That's why they're there. That's why they come to all of your shows. They need this experience with other people.
Yeah.
And we got to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that sounds like a good place to wrap up. This is usually a time where I start private messaging Jim, we need to wrap up. We've gone over an hour. But yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm not usually on camera. I'm usually back. I'm the little grayed out thing in the lower left going, you know, but I thought this was great. I don't know where we lost Hack. But I'm sure that I speak for him. What was that?
Doc did it.
Doc did it.
Oh, Doc.
But this is you know, personally an exciting thing for me, because between having the Monster Channel as long as it was, and honestly, you know, we ran Night of the Living Dead, the earlier unofficial versions, a million times, and it was obvious before we knew the public domain situation, the legal situation. Sorry, that I didn't mean to use the P word. But it's one of those few films that is so important, is so impactful, and doesn't and you have a relationship, you know, with the people who've actually put it together. So it's like, gee, I want to do this with Night of the Living Dead. How hard is it? Well, you know, go ask them. You don't have to go through 12 different agencies. So we can get this film out there and in a way that people will really appreciate it and feel like they're part of it. And the hosts will have an opportunity to be at the vanguard of getting this out there, which I think is also fair to the hosts, given that they were largely responsible for getting it in front of so many people for so long. So it's nice to have this all come together, I think.
Yeah.
So
we have so many stories to tell ourselves too.
And we have so many stories, yes, but we're not going to tell them now because I want to go to bed.
That's yeah.
So, Gary, do you have it? Gary, you have any party? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Jack. Go ahead. Tell the story.
Best tape I ever bought. This was the very first, and I still own it. Back in 1985, even before I had a VCR, I bought this. So I still have it.
There you go.
Gary, you have any parting?
$85, $90?
No.
Oh yeah, $90 for a VHS tape back then.
Well,
yeah.
Actually, I believe it was $10 at the time.
Wow, that's a bargain.
What did you? Never mind.
Not the greatest copy in the world either, but I mean,
Of course not. Of course not. There were no great copies.
You know.
So, Gary, you have any parting thoughts?
I don't have anything. I don't have anything else to say. But talk is cheap, and somehow we just have to turn talk into action. And
I get the hint. I get it. I know what next Tuesday's meeting is going to be about.
And
we just need to. Yeah, exactly. We have to. First of all, we have to figure out how we communicate more regularly, just like this. It doesn't have to be a broadcast. It can, but let me go away and explore a bunch of. Let's try to put it in a place first of all. I like the idea that it could happen in theaters, it could happen in convention centers, it could happen anywhere. That you can bring people in. It could happen at a Living Dead weekend here in, at the Monroeville Mall where Dawn of the Dead was shot. That's not out of the realm of possibility that it could happen right there. And so then we start putting the pieces together. It's like. Just needs a little time to digest and let this wonderful energy calm down and come into like a suitable form. We'll do it. We'll make it happen. And as I said, it starts right now. It starts with you guys right now. I feel that the energy from this meeting and this podcast will spread out into all of your lives and worlds and your users as well. So that in itself will happen, and I think as soon as that starts happening, it's just going to create more of an energy that's going to force us into doing something. If you all of a sudden just intimate that you're going to do something, you better be able to back it up, because once you let it out of the box, they want it.
Agreed.
So,
all right. So then we'll wrap it up with that. I'm going to break the fifth wall and say, hosts, stick around, after the close, so we can all meet in the green room and have drinks and chat a little bit. But this, Gary, thank you for opening this up, and by extension, Jim Cirinello, who's not with us tonight. Jim, the man who's actually really making a lot of this stuff real. We owe a lot to Jim. But thanks for opening up to our Monster Channel people. This was a lot of fun.
I've been waiting for this to happen for a long time. It's good. It's good. I think it's what's really interesting about it is now, and there's no reason that we can't just continue to do episodes. But that's what fans also like. I always worry about the positioning of these shows sometimes, and are enough people going to see it? But what's going to happen is there's going to be a collection. There is certainly already a collection of these on Instagram. All these shows are available, every single one we've ever done. And that's when people are going to start going back. Oh, I saw that one. So now they're going to go back and start watching all the others as well. And I think that's the kind of energy. There's a lot of material, a lot of content. And what is this all about? It's all about content. We're all looking for content.
Indeed. All right. So on that note, we're gonna take us out. I wanted to thank Gary again for having us. I want to thank all the hosts for coming tonight. Evan, Sally, John, Eric, by extension, Tony, who wasn't with us, and also on behalf of some of the folks who wanted to be here tonight but couldn't, such as the legendary Mr. Lobo, who has also been carrying the torch for this, and probably one of the more hardest working independent horror hosts out there. So we'll have him on the next one. But on behalf of everybody, I wanted to thank everyone for coming in, listening, all the comments and such. I've recorded them all. There are a lot of great ideas in the comments. And on that note, we're gonna say good night, and see you in 2 weeks.
Nighty night.
Night.
Bye.
Nighty night of the living dead.
Oh, there it is.
Bye.
You better watch this and try to understand what's going on.
This is the latest disclosure. The official Night of the Living Dead store is now open for everyone.
You're crazy. They have everything we need. That's my point.
It's important, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
It's hard for us to believe that there are official licensed products now available, but it does seem to be a fact.
I made my decision, now you make yours.
We've got to do something, and fast. Tell us what to do.
Make your way to the official Night of the Living Dead store as soon as possible.
Where is it?
Seems like it was pretty far away.
Forget it. It's at least a mile.
Well, we better leave soon. If I could only call the folks.
They might even be there.
We're able to report a definite course of action for you. Go to the official Night of the Living Dead store now.
Oh, I'd like to leave.
Well, one of us could try to get to the car.
Go ahead, go on.
I'm going with her.
Don't let this grisly development happen to you. Plan your escape to the official Night of the Living Dead store.